Wednesday, September 17th, and let's go through this agenda.
Okay. Under item 1, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval a permanent board order and ordinance to amend Port of Los Angeles Tariff Number 4, Section 2, Item 220, regarding penalties for violations of Tariff Number 4. The proposed tariff amendment, as submitted to the council on August 15th, would update the penalties for a tariff violation to be consistent with penalties for violation of the Los Angeles Municipal Code and California Penal Code.
If it's okay with you, Mr. Blanche, I'm going to continue this item and get more information. Particularly, I would like to have more information describing the types of tariff violations that would be affected by this ordinance. So just a little bit more information before we do this. Okay. And we'll continue it till next time, our next meeting. When is it? October 1st.
Under
Okay.
item 2, the Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for approval a permanent board order and ordinance to amend tariff number 4 by adding a section 22 entitled Vessels Berthed in Recreational Marinas. This would establish rules and regulations for the safe operation of vessels that are berthed in recreational marinas at the port.
Okay.
Also-
Actually, if you remember, Councilmember Lamonge, I actually continued this one last time because I wanted to get a little bit more information from my Wilmington boat owners who would be affected by this, and I didn't feel like I had reached out and touched them before we approved this. And
Now we've got a report.
Now we have a report, and I'm more prepared.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Captain John Holmes, Deputy Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles, and as you are aware, Councilwoman, our recreational boat owners have been for a period of time a somewhat neglected constituency.
Yes.
And in 2007, we undertook a project to assess all of the marinas and to try to determine what the master plan is for improving the quality of life in the marinas and basically taking a little bit better care of this constituency that oftentimes gets set aside because of the big ship companies that that are our big tenants. And so one of the things that we found when we started looking at this is that we had a number of boats that weren't in very good condition. And it was almost a vicious cycle in that the people that owned the boats couldn't even afford to get rid of the boat. So what they would do is they would continue to pay the rents at the slip fees, but what they couldn't afford is the environmental cost of remediating and getting rid of a boat. So we went to the board and asked them to set aside a fund so that we could help people get rid of boats that they wanted to. Up to this point, we have actually disposed of almost 170 boats that people have signed over to us. And so that's been a very successful program to the extent that the state passed a very similar program just a couple weeks ago, which was modeled after the program started at your port.
So are these boats seaworthy?
Most of them are not.
Most of them are not.
Most of them are, people, well-intentioned people who buy a boat.
So they're just...
They say they want to fix it up.
Okay.
It gets beyond their control, and then they might want to try to get rid of it. But
What do you do with these boats?
We actually take them over to our construction and maintenance yard, and we tear them apart, and we recycle all the bits and pieces, and we have an environmental company first come and remediate all the chemicals and oil off them. We tear them apart, and then we recycle the boats, the bits and pieces of the boats, and we do that for people for free, and it saves them an average of about $3,000 to $5,000 if they were going to get rid of it themselves. So it's been very successful, and it's largely successful because we have the people in place and the equipment that can do this, so we can do it at a fraction of the cost of a company. So what a person would have to do is they have to basically sign the boat over to us, and then we do that. So after doing that and continuing down this path, one of the things we realized is we really are sort of dealing with the symptoms and not the problem. And the problem is people should not, really get into this situation. And we have a significant fear that, somebody who is owning a boat like this is going to, because of the situation, they can't get rid of it. We're going to have an accident or a pollution spill or something that's going to, not only be dramatic for the individuals, but could cost the port a lot of money. So the tariff changes that you see before you are really basically to give us a tool in the event that we do approach somebody and say, your boat's unseaworthy, you've got to fix it up.
Right.
And they basically say to us, no, I can't do that. Because we do still have a few cases where boats are in very bad condition and people will not take any action to fix them up.
In talking to our people down at the Wilmington Marina, they have said that this is a very, very positive project, and they really feel like you've gotten rid of a lot of the derelict boats, which, as you mentioned, are not seaworthy, have been a real problem. So they really appreciate that. One of the issues that they brought to me that's included in this tariff is the inspectors, that you've now got a process where inspectors will go aboard and inspect the boats. Their concern is they would like to meet with the inspector to find out exactly what it is they're looking for. They felt that piece of this was a little vague. They weren't quite sure, these guys are going to just kind of show up unannounced. What are they really looking for? Are they really just going to come aboard? So that piece of it, they had some concerns about. I didn't know how you want to address that.
And I think that's a valid comment. And as you probably have been told, we had several public meetings on this. Actually, it was very interesting. The largest attended public meeting at the port ever was about boat tariffs, believe it or not. And so we've met with people several times, but we recognize that. We're just trying to make sure that somebody who lives on the boat, as I say, when you have a boat as a recreational boat and it's cold, what you do is you say, I'm not going to go on the boat this weekend. When you have a boat and you live on it and it's cold, you go down to Home Depot and you buy 3 space heaters and hook them up to what may be a not very good electrical system. So we want to do basic things, and we're more than happy
is there a way you
work
could
with these people and come up with...
I mean, for me, Donna Ethington is... she to me is sort of the leader of the of the boat owners in the Wilmington Marinas. She is a very good person, I would think, to connect with in terms of some of these concerns. I would ask that you do that, and I don't know whether or not you've hired the inspector yet, or is this a firm that you hire?
I hired a local San Pedran small businessman who's been a surveyor for many years.
Surveyor.
And he is a licensed surveyor.
Would you consider setting up a meeting between him and at least Donna, so she can have some of her concerns addressed, and then she's a good communicator, I think, to the rest of the marina.
And for
boat
your
owners.
Information, Donna's been actually a very big supporter of the things that we've done.
Yes,
so she certainly
that's what I'm saying.
Deserves to be part of this process. And
exactly.
We have no problem with that.
I agree. And let me just bring up one other issue that they apparently brought forward at the community meeting. And again, just kind of felt like it wasn't paid attention to. You talk about one of the problems is once you find your boat is in disrepair, you need to fix it up. You need to work on it. They're concerned about the number of boat yards over there in the Wilmington Marinas. They don't feel like they have adequate space to actually work on the boats. I don't know how you want to address that. Is there a plan for more boat yards in the master plan? Are you aware of this request?
I'm aware of the request, and we're taking into consideration one of the projects we have is how to basically renovate and upgrade all of the marinas in Wilmington in the master plan. So I'll give you my word that I'll continue to work with the community and work with
because again, if one of our goals is to get them to make the repairs, fix their boats up, and they're complaining that there's not enough boat yards to actually do that work, then we're back in kind of the same situation of not empowering the boat owners to actually do what we're trying to get everybody in compliance with.
No, and I agree with you. And we're trying to, to upgrade these marinas, and it can't all be us,
Right.
writing tariffs. It has to be
Right.
some work with these people to try to upgrade the quality of life for the
Right.
people and in the marinas.
Right.
We're looking at a big plan, and what I think I can promise you to do is perhaps, and I talked to you earlier about, there's a number of
Yeah.
operational issues we'd like to brief you separately on, and I can come back to you and give you a brief on where we're going with marinas and boat yards, and you can communicate that to your constituents.
Okay. So on this item, we're happy to approve this, I think. But on the two specific things, I really like
Okay.
for you to, in some way, address facilitate the meeting with the surveyor,
Okay.
just so they get a better sense of what it is these folks are going to do when they come aboard. And then if you could look at the idea of more space for boat yards out there.
Okay.
And if that's part of the master plan.
Certainly, and the
Okay.
last thing I'll say is, although this has been in place on a temporary basis, we've not used this tariff. Everything's up to this point has been voluntary. I just frankly don't. I need this tool. In
I agree
case
with
I
you.
have
I
something.
agree with you, and I think I think overall it's very positive, and I really appreciate the fact that you're addressing the Wilmington marinas. I don't want them to go away. I think they're an important part for certain boat owners. I mean, not everyone can be a member of the LA Yacht Club. This is,
Is there a Wilmington Yacht Club?
there is not a Wilmington Yacht Club.
I think we should just designate it all a yacht club.
But this is, no matter what, economic background you come from, everyone has the right to have a recreational, a boat. So I at one point, I think there was a feeling that they were going to go away and that we were going to get rid of them, and I'm not in favor of that. I think they serve a purpose in Wilmington, and I think it's a part of the fabric of that community, as well as San Pedro.
As you know, Councilwoman, they're part of the Port family.
Yeah, so I appreciate us addressing this. I think this is a good way to go forward, but let's just work out some of these
We'll do that.
concerns.
Ms.
I just
Bond,
wanna
I
know-
would say, salute you on that. Wilmington has a very important area for those boats. I've been there. I've had friends who have boated there. A guy named Brownie, who's a retired firefighter. Catherine E. is his name, is his boat. And he once looked a shark right in the face as he was, he didn't tell him he fished there.
Was that down here at City Council?
No,
Oh.
no. So I support it, and I just think everybody should have a place. Everybody has
Yeah, exactly.
a place, and it's not one group or the other. And I think they're proud, and also to be sensitive to people who may not have the means that others may have in this area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, can you explain in more detail the boat repairs that will be allowed as it relates to water pollution?
There's some state requirements and some local requirements that the work that you can do while you're in the water, you have to mitigate any effects on the environment. So basically, in the water, you can do things like minor repairs and painting if you've got your boat masked off, but it's very difficult to do anything major while the boat's in the water, which supports the councilwoman's idea of having a place where people can take the boats out of the water. So generally, I would say you can do upkeep and minor repairs in the water. Anything more than that, you probably need to take the boat out of
Is
the
there
water.
signage that explains that, or rules printed that they get so they understand what the rules are?
I don't know if there is, but we have certainly worked with the boating community to sort of get an understanding of that, but we can do more on that.
Yeah, the old saying that ignorance is no excuse.
Right.
So I don't want anybody to be ignorant, so I think you should publish those rules clearly, and every boat owner should be given a copy of it as part of the process they get when they get their boat opportunity to be there.
I think that's a great idea, and we can have that in the package they get when they rent a slip, for example, which is, here's what you can do in the water, and also post it at we have 17 marinas, we can post it.
That'd be terrific. And when they get their packet, they should sign off on it that they received it so that they know that these are the rules that they must do. What steps has the Harbor Department taken to ensure that recreational and residential boaters are properly handling their sewage discharges to avoid polluting the marinas?
Well, we have a very active neighborhood watch presence with our police department, and they work in the marinas and educate the boaters about what they can do with respect to sewage and pumping sewage. We also have several places they can pump their sewage, and we have a mobile vessel system that will come around. But it's one of those things, one of the reasons we need to upgrade the marinas is because the infrastructure for things like pumping sewage, dropping off paint and hazardous material is not quite what it should be, and that's part of the master plan to upgrade the marinas as
Great.
well.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's Bill Koenig with the CAO's office. A minor technical issue. This item in front of you will replace a previous communication that was forwarded to the council. We have noted that action can be received and filed at the request of the Harbor. It's recommendation number 2 in our report. We would suggest that you incorporate it into your committee report.
Bill, I think
What?
that's- No, I think that's
What?
Okay.
that's the penalties.
I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. Wrong.
CEO made a
Oh,
mistake.
okay.
CEO made a mistake.
Yeah.
Made a mistake.
Good. I was like, that doesn't really fit with this, but, okay.
And if I may, just one last comment, and this is Councilman Labange. I think that we appreciate that the people in Wilmington and the heritage in Wilmington, and it's one of the reasons why our new police maritime facility is being located in Wilmington. The state has recently given us $4 million to renovate a building in Wilmington, which will be a multi-agency maritime facility, not only for the Port Police, but for the Sheriff's Department boats. And that will be right in Wilmington, and it will also be a Wilmington police substation, which will be open 24 hours a day. So we feel like we need to have a great footprint in Wilmington, and that has been supported not only, as I say, by the state to the tune of about $4 million, but the Department of Homeland Security has we recently signed an agreement with them that we're going to be able to do the federal maritime training that currently goes on at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. We are going to be the West Coast adjunct of that, and that will all be emanated out of Wilmington. So anybody on the West Coast that wants police officers want maritime training won't go to San Francisco or Seattle to get it. They'll go to Wilmington, California to get it.
Good.
And that's something that I got to give credit to Chief Boyd. He did all the negotiations with the guys from
Good job, Chief.
Homeland Security.
Good. Any more questions on this item? Okay, good. Is there a motion to
Motion.
approve this with the concerns that we brought forth? And again, we appreciate this. We think you're going in the right step, in the right direction. I think communication is always key, and I do think there is sometimes a sense that the Wilmington Marina boat owners feel sometimes a little bit disenfranchised as tenants of the port. So work on the communication, and this will be positive. Are you leaving?
Yeah, I have to go down the budget downstairs.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do publish all that and let us know that you're letting it out there.
What's on budget, may I ask?
It's the marathon.
Well, I support the marathon. Evidently, something's going on.
Yes.
He was making a sprint.
He was. Okay, we're going. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, public comment. Okay. Why don't we do the public comment now, because then we're going to go into closed session. So Arnold Sachs.
Yes, good morning, Arnold Sachs. First and foremost, I can't tell you how disappointed I am in the legislation that was passed last week regarding the fiasco at the convention center. That being said, and I will repeat that a few more times in council general chambers, you act surprised. Well, you gave up, according to the the newspaper article in the Downtown News yesterday, 50,000 square feet of advertising space is going to be made available for $2 million.
No, you've got that wrong, by the way. It's guaranteed $2 million a year. then we get up to 75% of the revenue. So every time you say that, you're actually inaccurate.
Well, but I am not inaccurate about the contract that was,
You keep talking about only 2 million. That's bottom line, 2 million. Then it goes up.
but
I don't know
Every-
any other deal where you get 75% of the revenue.
all the other subsidiaries of AEG will get a revenue share because they're all going to be advertised for. And I'm sure that in their contracts, they are entitled to a share of any advertising revenue. And since AEG is a company that's going to be doing the actual advertising and not the Los Angeles Arena Corporation, which was discussed here and was on the agenda in City Council, there was never any mention of AEG in any of the information that was brought to this body. There was never mention of AEG in any of the information that was on the council agenda. The first information came from the LA Times article. And in the LA Times article, there was never any mention of the LA Arena Corporation. So there's a definite dysfunctional spot right there. Why? Because something's not right. And to give up for $2 million annually plus 75%, but if everybody else gets their share from AEG first, and then AEG pays the LA Arena Land Corporation, which is the people that the city negotiated with in a what was the name of the contract? It was brain cramp. Then the pot that's left is not going to be, let's say, $100 million. It's not going to be. That's not going to be the net. What's going to be left net will be after the deductions that AEG gives to all its subsidiaries that are entitled to. So 75% of the net, not the gross, but the net is a whole different ballgame than 75% of the revenue that's going to be generated. It was an exclusive contract with AEG. So if it's exclusive with AEG, why is the city bound on its side by only being able to negotiate with AEG, yet AEG is able to send in a subsidiary to negotiate on behalf of AEG? That doesn't make sense. And there's something wrong someplace, and there's something that smells. And when you look at the cost of what advertising gets, when you look at the building that's at the corner of Figueroa and Olympic, where they put up the signage for ESPN, when you look at the building that's on Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood, where they had the famous Marlboro Man, when you look at the signage above the Chateau Marmont, when you look at the signage where they had the Bo Jackson advertising, you can be pretty sure that that's a lot of money over the year, probably close to $50 million in advertising revenue generated by those spaces.
Are you an ad man, Arnold?
I'm not an ad man, but I have a pretty good idea that those spots generated by the amount of public traffic that goes by them and the amount of times that they're seen on TV, they're not going to go for pennies.
Right.
Right. So we're going to
So-
get more revenue at the
Excuse me?
convention center.
Excuse me?
So we'll get revenue.
Only, again, after AEG slices up the pie. Not LA Arena Center. They're not the slicers. They're a section of the pie. And what AEG deems for them to get, because that's who the city negotiated with, that's who will get the revenue from, not AEG. And there's a big disconnect there. And so when you talk about funds and you talk about giving away property, I'm really disappointed in how that turned out.
Thank
It wasn't what I was going to talk about, but since I got sidetracked, I'll save my public comment for another time.
Thank you, Arnold. Okay, any other members of the public wishing to address this committee? Seeing none, we are now going to go into closed session for an update on pending litigation.
Got to clear the room?
Clear the room.
Yes, please, if the Sergeant at Arms would clear the room. This committee can go into closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 Subdivision
Government
A
date's okay.
to consider item number 3 on the closed
Yeah.
session
Yeah.
agenda.
I think that's all right.
We'd ask the clerk to take us off the air and turn off Granicus.